In this screencast, we'll go into more detail about predicates. As you'll recall, when we're trying to discern the subject of a sentence, we first ask ourselves what person, place, thing, or idea is being talked about. After that, it's time to figure out the predicate, and so we ask ourselves, what is being said about that person, place, thing, or idea? Just like subjects, predicates can be identified as simple or complete. In a four-level analysis, I will always refer to the simple predicate, just like I refer to the simple subject. Later, we'll talk about these pesky things called verbals that don't act like verbs, but for the most part, if you have a verb that's acting like a verb, meaning it's showing action or expressing a state of being, then it's considered a predicate at the parts of a sentence level. In my example sentence, I write, my uncle worked in Kenya for the Peace Corps and in Antarctica for Raytheon. The subject here is my uncle. The simple predicate, or the verb that tells us what he did, is just worked. That's bold. But the complete predicate is everything that's underlined. That's everything that goes along with that predicate. Just as you can have a compound subject, you can also have a compound predicate. Let's face it, we are a nation of multitaskers. We rarely do one thing in isolation, and because our language describes our experience, our sentences have to work the same way. Now, as I mentioned before, I coach cross country. I love running, and a large part of why I love it is because it requires really limited coordination and there are no balls. When I was in second grade, my teacher, Mr. Thomas, took us outside to play kickball. I was on first base when he kicked the ball, and he kicked it so high that I was amazed. So amazed, in fact, that I continued to watch the ball in the sky instead of the base that I was running toward, which resulted in this sentence with a compound predicate. I stared at the sky, collided with the boy, and broke his jaw with my face. I did three stupid things here: stared, collided, and broke. In a sentence analysis, we would label all of those as predicates, but our subject-predicate pair would still just be I stared, collided, and broke. I'd love to share some before and after pictures with you because I ended up with a black eye and teeth marks from the other kid in my cheek, but I don't have pictures. So instead, here's a generic picture of a kickball. Thanks, Google. As we've discussed, the subject-predicate set is the combination of a simple subject and a simple predicate that is always present as a nucleus in every idea, in every sentence, and in every clause. The sentence or clause might contain more than one subject-predicate set, but it will certainly contain at least that much as a minimum. Because the subject-predicate set is so important, you need to make sure that the subject and predicate match in number. The formal logic of every idea begins with what we call subject-verb agreement. Both subject and verb indicate number. They express that the sentence is either a thought about something singular or a thought about something plural. It cannot logically be both. You never want the subject and the verb to disagree about whether the subject is singular or plural, even if other distracting and confusing words or phrases come between the subject and its verb. Consider the example sentences. The subjects are bold and the predicates are underlined. In the green one, I write, the top of the mountains is snowy. The single subject is top. Although it might appear plural at first glance, of the mountains is really just a prepositional phrase that's modifying top. It's not my subject. So because my subject is just top, I use the singular form of the verb to be, which in this case is. And to check it, you could just take out of the mountains and say the top is snowy, and then it would sound right. In the yellow sentence, though, the subject is now mountains, and since that's plural, it requires the plural form of the verb to be, which is are. The mountains are beautiful. As with subject-object pronouns, subject-verb agreement tends to be something you pick up by ear. But if you're ever in doubt about your own writing, go back to our questions. What person, place, thing, or idea is being talked about? And if that noun or pronoun refers to one thing, be sure that the predicate, or what is being said about that person, place, thing, or idea, is singular also.